Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Sahas. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on the flip side. I always enjoy having you on because we always have great conversations on mindset, and that's today's topic. We're going to be talking about mindset. So, the first Monday of every month, Sahas and I will be talking on mindset, different topics on mindset. Um, and so, this month, what's our topic?
It's something that we were just struggling with. We were struggling to get imperfections out of the way, and perfections never help you to get anywhere. So, right now, the topic what we are talking about is perfections, guys. To get somewhere, you don't always have to be perfect. And just like we were just laughing, Diana and I, that, even before getting onto this live, we were really not sure how to do this. We struggled a lot, but guess what?
Yeah, we were
We
supposed to actually do a Zoom, a live on Facebook, and we couldn't get it done. So pre-recorded, but next one we'll get it, guys. Next one.
Yeah, we'll get it. It's better to get done than perfect. So that is what is important, and that's the theme and the vibe of our conversation today.
100%. And I guess to start that off, I would say something I've realized because for me, that was very much an excuse that I would always make for not doing things, is that I needed to publicly show things once it was perfect. And and what happens with that is that you're never going to feel like it's perfect, and you realize that really what it is your lack of confidence, or at least for me, I felt like it was my lack of confidence. And so I would always use the excuse that it's not perfect yet, so then I would never, it would never go to, let's say for example, doing lives.
Mhm.
And like that, I'm specifically talking about social media. I would say was like my biggest part of, like, I felt like I always needed to like look perfect, presentable, everything when it came to social media. And that was, I would say, my biggest shift was that, um like, not work trying not to worry about that, and just going with it and learning on the fly, because really that is what it is. No one is ever perfect from the beginning, and we're always going to have our um, problems that come up, or mistakes that we make, even big mistakes that we make. And but how do we really improve ourselves if we don't make those mistakes and learn from them? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right, and I have also struggled with it a lot. And at times you get back to the same streak again, that it has to be perfect and everything. But when you think about it, Diana, I also think, like when I think about like what really perfection is, it's basically you are looking for validation from people around you. You're looking for approval. But the moment you realize that, it's not somebody's opinion about you is going to matter in your life, it's how your opinion about yourself is, how you can change that narrative around you, is actually going to take you to some level in your life. And that has happened with me also. Like, I've also, like, for example, like when I started, I'm a little, happy-go-lucky kind of, like I'll just appear the way that I am. I don't want to dress up and fancy, make sure that nothing is right, even if I'm wearing pajamas, and I'll just hop onto my live. And in fact, I used to do that. But the thing with perfectionists is that they will point it out. They will not look into the content of what you are talking about. They'll just talk about, uh, and I got one comment about that, once, that Sahas should wear, formal shirts and, jacket when he's doing it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. My content, my value has to do nothing with what I'm going to wear. If you have that clarity that, if people are judging you by what you look, how you look, and how do you present, they're missing the point, and they're not really your audience then. What you really need to factor in is that, you know three things basically. What is your personality? So basically, are you able to create that kind of a connection with someone? So are you able to connect? That is one. The second is, are you talking about some educational topics? Are you giving some logic around whatever you're talking about? So you're giving some education or not? And the third one is just add a little bit of a humor to everything. Even if nothing is working out, just say that, yeah, this is how it is. And if you don't like it, just, shut it off, or
Hmm.
just make fun of yourself. So this is what I've started doing now, that incorporating a little bit of fun element, so that I don't have to stand on the pedestal of perfection, and just say that, what, it's okay to make a little bit of mistakes, and I learn over scale. Instead of doing this one perfectly, just doing it over the period of time, my graph will be like this. I don't want to go just like this on the top. That's what I
Yeah.
start feeling about it now.
Which I think also even like you'll just I feel like when you're thinking of perfection also like you were saying like just doing it when it's perfect I don't think even that time will ever come for
Yeah.
people specifically that are very like needing to be perfect, because there'll always be something there that you'll criticize about yourself even and so and I think those things just like that within time you start figuring out what it is that you want, like, oh, you know what, I keep on fumbling over my words.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, but then you start either getting more comfortable with it
Mm.
and then it's you're not doing it so much, or maybe you start focusing on your language more and trying to
Mm.
pronounce things or just like I think you just start getting comfortable and then
Yeah,
you won't fumble around with your words as much as you do when you're first time getting nervous.
absolutely. And the same thing is like, like maybe today you and I, we are doing it very professionally with all this camera setup, with this mic and all that. But you and I, we know that how did we really start doing this? Like
Go
literally
a
there was a
year
camera on our
later,
face.
a year before, I mean, right? The year before, you see the difference of probably both of us, at least for sure for me. If you guys go back in time to like a year ago, I'm sure you're gonna notice a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. The same for me. Literally, the videos that I've made on YouTube had literally been the front camera of my mobile phone. And pretty recently, I've invested into all this setup because now I thought that, I'm getting very serious with my content game. Earlier was, then again, that was a, trial run. I had to do it. So, like, if I would have thought that, from day one, I need a perfect camera, perfect location, perfect background, and I need to build that, I would have lost an opportunity of actually what I am supposed to do. And I would have just lost into things that really doesn't matter. But in my mind, it really matters because what other person is going to think of me.
Hmm.
And that just spoils the whole, view of what you are actually trying to do. If you stay true to yourself and say that, others' opinion valid, I don't need any validation, but just just do it, and it's that will somewhere you will feel that you achieved something, you're confident. I mean, at least this is out of my way, I've done it now I can do better the next time.
Hmm.
So this is how I feel for anything that I've done or I'm doing right now. I struggle with it,
Hmm.
and I'm sure like everyone does it, nobody's perfect. Right? And it's just that you just have to play the game of just showing up. That is more important.
Yeah, and now let's relate it to real estate, obviously, because I feel like I was like realizing like we're talking about social media, but let's also relate it
Yeah.
to real estate. So in real estate, for example, I think people's fears are, let's say, even just talking to someone. Um, like you think like you need to be perfect to talk to someone, let's say for partnerships. And if you don't feel comfortable for the beginning, at least I would say just start with building the relationship, get to know them, ask the questions. Maybe don't talk about business because you don't feel ready, but ask those questions that you can ask to actually understand what that person's needs are, what their wants are, to even be able to propose something to them, right? Because you
Yeah.
can't propose to someone without actually knowing what they want. I think that's I feel like this is probably getting into your area too of um like you can't give someone something if you don't even know what they want. Like you can just be
Yeah.
giving them the completely wrong thing and they're like, what are you talking about? Like for example, like, oh hey, can I lend money from like borrow money from you? And they're like, I don't have any money to borrow to lend out, sorry.
Um,
What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Everything is related to that, right? Like even in the real estate game, uh, you know, the whole foundation is that, to practice everything and anything. If you have never appeared in front of the seller, what do? How do you gain that confidence? How do you make that conversation better? Is actually doing the work, is actually picking up the phone and calling somebody on Kijiji, or on somebody who's listed the property, or maybe a realtor. That will break that barrier for you to just go out and make it happen. But if you think about what should, if you just write down, I'm not saying just go unprepared altogether. I'm saying just see in your mind, think about it, what you can write down on a piece of paper according to you, what you think at that time, and think what all questions that you can ask, write it on a piece of paper, and do that. Now, if you keep on waiting, or you start looking at videos what people are asking as questions, you'll miss your own personality, you'll miss the mark of what you are actually supposed to do, and you will probably fumble more, or you will be more uh, you know uh, you'll be trying more than actually doing it, and you will be out of your own personality. So my take is just that, whenever you're talking to sellers, whenever you're talking to a realtor, whenever you want to speak to somebody, talk to them as if they're just as human as you are. They're also full of flaws as much as you are. They're not, nobody is a god around you. So if you think that it's okay even if I make a mistake, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to learn out of it, I'm going to get better in my next conversation. That's how you should look into everything. And same has gone for you. I've seen your growth. You never worried about and I'm not just saying it for, by the way, because I've seen you grow. We've had this conversations so many times together, and I've seen your growth. I mean, from where you're starting and today, like this confident Diana that I'm looking at today, she was you were like, you struggled through all those times. And similarly for me, if I didn't push myself to go to that level of, now I have to do it every day. You are doing so many podcasts. I was like really, mind blown how many podcasts that you are doing, and such consistently, and all on the name of practice, of getting better. This is this is the game. This is how everyone needs to think about.
100%. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons, actually, it's funny you say that. One of my reasons for doing podcasts was to practice actually a couple things. One, to practice consistency, like you said, because if you saw me before, I was like so inconsistent, it was not even funny. And so I was for consistency, but obviously the major part of it was to practice public speaking
Yeah,
without, I guess, like public speaking or virtual public speaking, whatever way.
yeah,
Because even public speaking, I think like in front of people, I probably still be probably nervous just because I've never actually done it. This is a little
yeah,
bit different
yeah,
than full on in front of people, but taking those steps forward that I need to grow, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's a progress. It's and progress over perfection. This is what they say, right? Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to keep on showing up. And consistency is so much important in your life, in anything that you do, even if it is real estate. Like you don't just want to, say that, oh, I'm done with one deal and I'm good enough, and I'm so-called real estate investor and that is done and dusted. No, push yourself to
Mm-hmm.
get another one. And because you are not fearing getting another property, you're fearing the conversation, you're fearing the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you stop connecting the outcome to any conversation, you will be free of actually making conversations. You will be more confident, because in our mind, we're actually trying to, you know get onto the outcome, that this should result into that. And if it doesn't, then you're like, oh, I've committed a blunder and I can't go back, and I've not got any validation, because you have put yourself onto that pedestal of validation from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think about the outcome. This is, if somebody who's struggling with perfection, and you will not be able to get the end result, the product out if you're focusing on the result.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you should be
100%.
talking about the process. You should be worrying about how you actually have to start enjoying the process of actually getting there, and that actually will help you to get the result later on in the future.
100%. I totally agree. I'll share an experience of an example of how I got over it. And then maybe you can share in yours, like in marketing when you started your
Mhm.
business, how you got over it.
Yep.
So for me, um, numbers are very easy. So when I started, but talking to people and having that confidence to tell people, for example, about borrowing money from them, was a very scary thing. And so I chose the most difficult person that I could think of to talk to. The
Mhm.
reason I did that was because one, I would get all their one, because I was expecting that they'll never say yes. So I was already going in with they're saying no to me.
Right.
And but the person was very good at asking a lot of questions, and I wanted all those questions so that I could prepare for the next person,
Mm.
for other people. So
Right.
I went to my dad.
Okay,
My dad
nice.
has said no to me to every business venture in my life, and so it was really funny because then I go to my dad all prepared. I had like and the thing is actually not even prepared in the sense like I didn't have a PowerPoint presentation. I was prepared as in I knew all my information, and I didn't want to create a PowerPoint presentation or a presentation until I understood what people wanted, right?
Mm.
Because I didn't want to do something and then I'm just totally off. So I was like, you know what, let me start with asking questions. And
Mm.
so I went with my dad, and so I wrote on a piece of paper. So I was just like, okay, dad, I'm gonna like present this to you. You tell me what you think. Ask me all your questions. And it was really funny because I, you know, I presented it, I wrote it down, I like, does this make sense to you? Do you
Mm.
have any questions? He'd ask me some questions, and it was really funny because actually he's the first person I asked for money, and he actually said yes, and I couldn't believe it. And I think it was one because I was expecting a no,
You
and
were
I was
expecting.
just kind of like it was already expecting a no because of past experience with him, like for doing business deals or things, or like
Mm.
real estate and talking to him about like business ventures. It was always no. But then I realized what the issue was before I would kind of go to him without preparation, because I kind of would go to him with the expectation that he's going to help me build the business plan, where my dad's probably mentality, I feel like, was more like, you need to know what you're talking about kind of a thing before you talk to me. And so he'd always say no, because he'd be like, what about this, what about that, what about that? And in the past, I would kind of get shut down and give up
Mm.
instead of looking into it and actually understanding why he's saying no. Whereas like now, when we got into like our mentorships and actually learning and realizing that a no is not a bad thing,
Yep.
was I came in with now like, well, one, like that I had learned a lot about private lending, because obviously now I was ready to the point of like I need to understand everything and present everything. um so like I did have the plan and I understood exactly how it worked, but it was also, I think, just because I knew or I felt like I was so used to in the past, and I realized that was my mistake, right? It was in the past, I never came with a plan. And this time, even though it was like written on paper, I knew my plan. Like, this is how it works. This is what's happening. This is this. Like, I knew everything, exactly how I was going to like borrow money. And he had by the end, it was funny, like I was forcing him to ask me more questions, like
Mm.
I asked me another question, and he like had no more questions to ask me. I'm like, and I was just like, you need to ask me more questions, it was so funny. And he was just like, no, this makes sense. He's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would do this. And I was like,
Yeah, no, this is a great story. And what I really liked about it, that when we say that, you have to give it a shot, you have to go out there and make it happen. doesn't mean that you don't have to go without any practice or without any homework done. So and what you did was you actually wrote down what questions that needed to be asked. So spont going out spontaneous can help sometimes, but it can also ruin it. But very few times it helps you, and then it's odd one out kind of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
But going prepared, I think whatever you think. So like whenever like even before this, when I was giving that example of calling to a seller and having that conversation, write down those points. You have to do a little bit of a homework. You
Mm-hmm.
have to do a little bit of a research and see what, according to your mind, according to your preparation, you think you should be asking those questions. You could be completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point. The point is that you are going out there, you prepared something, now you know that those questions did not work or
Mm-hmm.
it worked. And
Exactly.
talking about one experience, like when I talk to my clients and whenever I'm having any conversation, I go prepared. Like I'll do over preparation just because I know that what needs to be delivered and what will bring that smile on somebody's face. So, and that happens with the practice. That will not happen on the first meeting or something that I know what the other person. So if you are trying to solve somebody's problem, you should be able to deliver that solution in the most simplistic way possible. May that be a real estate, may that be marketing, may that be anything that you are selling or buying. And and I've been into those situations where I had to spontaneously get up and sell myself. And fortunately it worked, but I was completely prepared for having to listen to no. So I'll tell you one incident. I don't know whether you were there or not at that moment. So when we joined the mastermind, i raised the I raised $20,000, $25,000, standing in a bus and asking for, I need money, give me the
I
money.
heard about it. I know I didn't I wasn't there because you were in it before I was, but I heard
Yes.
about it. Yeah, that was impressive actually, hearing about it. Now I can't wait to hear your side because I've never heard
Yeah.
you talk
So
about it.
like when I knew that, so when I'm committed to doing something, I know that I have to do it. Now when you think about what is the problem is that you don't have money. You want to be a part of that, but you don't have the money. And I was pretty new immigrant, and I just came to this country, and literally no credit cards, no bank limits and everything. So I had to join it, but I was in my mind thinking, what can I provide of a value to someone, so that he or she says that, yeah, if you can do this for me, then you will get that from me. I i went i went up and I said that, what, if you loan me, like to Ben, in fact, I told him, if you loan me this amount, I'll give you this much percentage rate of interest, and by the 6 months I'll return you all the principal and everything. And he was like, no, let's make it a little difficult. Why don't you ask people around? And I was so we went into the bus, and he told that he just introduced me as saying that, he's a new immigrant, came to this country, doesn't have any like, you cannot trust him. Basically he was saying that you cannot trust him.
So it's like you don't can't trust him. Do you want to lend to him now?
You might want to lend him, but figure it out, because you can't trust him. He has no literally doesn't have any history in this country, so he can literally take your money away and go run off somewhere. So but I was like, shit, the shit just got real. And I just literally, and that kind of, like, I was literally wearing my sling bag, removing it, and like, okay, now it's my turn, I have to do this. And at that time I thought, what is the worst thing that can happen to me? Like, am I going, is because your heart is beating very fast when you are surrounded by so many eyes of, like, glaring at you, 40 people in front of you in a bus, and they're looking at you, and what are you going to do, what are you going to do? And I'm like, am I going to die? Do you get that kind of a feeling that you're
I get. I
trembling?
would be my thoughts would be like, am I gonna faint right now? I'm so nervous.
And to myself I said that, no, this is not that kind of a situation that I might die, but like, what is the worst can happen out of, what is the worst outcome? Thinking about it, like, I'll just hear no, people are going to say no, and they're going to carry on with their lives, and I'm going to happily carry on with mine, and they're going to forget about who this person was. And I said, okay, then, okay, let's do it. Then I just like it was such a spontaneous moment that I don't even realize what I said, but I just kept on asking. I said that, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy these many properties and this will help you to get, these many returns and whatnot. I didn't prepare, I didn't have any script to prepare, but all I had to do is just ask. Most of the people don't get what they want is because they never ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked, one person got up and he said, okay, I'll give you $2,000. And I'm like, oh, why are you giving me $2,000? You don't even know me, bro. But then I said that, okay, this is done. Now I have more people to go on. Then I started asking. Another said 20,000, 10,000. Somebody said 6,000. And like this, I raised more than 110% of the total amount which was needed. And just by asking,
Mm-hmm.
and it could have gone the other way also, by the way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that this win is like, what you, when you ask spontaneously, always you're going to have a great situation and the outcome is going to be legendary and you're going to love it. No, it could have gone the other way also. Fortunately, it went that way. But it made me realize one thing: until you don't ask, you will not know
Mm-hmm.
whether you are, until you don't put yourself into that risky situation. Now that risky situation doesn't have to be literally standing in front of a bus and start asking random people for money, but even picking up the phone, until you don't ask that, can you lend me the money, I know you from that kind of, like, put on your credibility jacket, say how, what kind of authority you have, what kind of work that you have done, and talk to that person. Until you don't risk picking up the phone and talking to someone, you will not know. So
Mm-hmm.
do that, and second time you will realize that, okay, I don't have to do that way. I have to do this way, or something that worked in the previous way. Continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be very creative about it.
Yeah. And I would say like like what you're basically saying is it's better to get a yes or no than
Yeah.
silence.
Oh
Right? At
yeah.
least if you ask and they say no, amazing. You never have a question again because now you
Mhm.
know it's a no. You
Yeah.
know, if they say yes, even better because you got something and you're
You
getting
got
whatever it
something.
is you asked for. But if
Yeah.
it's silence, you just never know what could have come
I
of
know.
that. Right?
So it's all about curiosity, like having to be curious, like what is on the other side? What
Mm-hmm.
is on the other side? Like, what if, what am I going to miss?
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you have to put yourself into the stage of imperfection and just do it, not just be that, what, let me prepare to that level so that I have to perform on. And there are moments and challenges when you get ahead on those levels in your life where you have to prepare yourself, you have to be in the best form possible. Like for any athlete, you could say they have to perform at the highest levels, but they never went on to that perfection level from day one. They had many failures, and they had to go through those channel of practices, channel of exercises, and then they reach to those levels.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that, fail your way to success.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying that, I want to be successful, it's okay, then you'll have to just put yourself into risky situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Even same thing in businesses is it's the same, right? It's you're going to fail, 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 success, fail, 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 success. Like it's just as you go, as you grow, you start small and you go bigger, bigger, bigger because yeah, no one. It's funny. I remember there's this guy. I don't know if you know the owner of Binance. I don't know if you know Binance is, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
this
yeah.
owner of Binance where he basically everyone's like, oh my god, overnight success, and like this whole hype happened, and then he does an interview saying that, are you kidding me? He's like, this is not an overnight success. He's like, you know how many businesses have failed and
Mhm.
I've had to start over again and work at things, and then finally I found something that works for me. And it was like that's the other thing I feel like is also what brings on perfection is that they talk about overnight success, like this person's amazing, and it's like no, like everyone starts from the beginning. They fail a lot, have their successes, but as you continue, obviously, the successes probably become more than the failures as you grow more and more. Or unless if you're hitting ceilings and you're hitting more failures again because you're hitting a new ceiling and then failing, 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 and then succeeding, but you're going bigger, bigger, bigger.
Yeah.
Um, so I found that when he spoke about that very interesting because a lot of that, like the media specifically, will always make things like overnight success. And it's just like, it's never, no
Yeah,
one
right.
is ever perfect. Because I feel like these kind of talking about overnight success is basically talking about these people being perfect, right? Like these people are perfect. Like, look at how amazing they are at speaking, at public speaking, at running their business, whatever it is, and it's no, it's not actually. They are because they've been doing how many years? And that was one of the things that I would say that shifted my mind actually was um when Ben said something like um or I don't know if he said it, but he alluded to that, why don't you start now in social media when you're smaller, when you're not so big and you're practicing, right?
Mhm.
And you're getting better as your real estate is getting better, so that when you're successful in real estate, also your presence is much better at that time too. And that really clicked for some reason very much with me because I was like, yeah, I don't want to be like a super amazing real estate investor and I suck at talking to people or like at least presenting myself like who I want people to see me as.
Correct.
And that was really kind of just clicked in me. And I was just like, you know what? I have to do this failure thing. And same thing, I was like, okay, I can't be perfect. And I was like, that being said, I remember my first recordings were like insanely like I think it took me like 2 3 hours to get like a 1 minute recording because I just was so critical
Tell
of
me about it.
myself.
I have also had many retakes, like 40 retakes of the same video recording. It's a process. I think everybody, if anyone that you ask who was going through this process of talking in front of the camera and doing it repeatedly, they've had, like, I've done 40 retakes. Sometimes even today, if I have to send a voice message to someone, I'll just repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, retake it. But that's a part of a practice, right? So I think there's nothing to feel sad or apologetic about it. If you are just creating different new ceilings for yourself by doing this, you're not, over the period of time, you're going to not repeat the same mistakes. You're going to have mistakes, you're going to have commit mistakes, but they're going to change. And I think that is why it is really important. Yesterday I was watching that movie, Founder. Have you watched that?
Founder? No, I don't think so.
Founder. So this movie is about how McDonald's restaurant chain came into existence,
Mm.
and how the person who actually, he was not the founder of McDonald's, but how did he get that kind of a success? So even in that, uh, like how, what he talks about is that you just need, you just have to be right one time to make it big, but it will not be the first time. It could be, but you have, and he made success at the age of 52, when he was 52 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Then he, at that time, he had so many chains of McDonald's all over the US. But he said that, and even like when you think about it, anyone who is successful, even when you were giving example of Binance founder, he just had to be right once. But to be right once, he had to fail multiple times to, in order to be right once, to be at that position.
And
So
I think that comes with the learning, right? Because, like you said, I don't think, or it's probably very rare that someone will get it right on the first time because you
yeah,
need those failures to kind of start paving the path for you, really. That's what the failures are there for, is to be like, oh, this didn't work. Because you have like 100, let's say thousands of paths, and you have to start narrowing them down. And with experience, especially if you're pivoting and learning and trying to evolve yourself, you start narrowing down what really works for you. And you need those
correct.
failures to tell you, okay, like I did this, that that takes out like 50 of these paths, because like now I don't need to do that because I realized that this specific situation told me that it's not meant for me, or it's not the time right now, whatever the situation is, but it's not. And then you just kind of start narrowing it down. So even like that, like those, like the micro habits, right? So it's like doing little things and
Mhm.
failing, because as you progress forward, you learn, and then that one thing that propels you forward will propel you forward, because you've basically be doing, to say, research. It's almost like doing research. You're doing research, you're failing. Okay, that didn't work. Next, that didn't work. Next, okay, this person gave
Mhm.
me this input. Next, okay, I need to, like, now I need to change this up, whatever. And so it's just, yeah, it's all failures help you figure out the right path for you, I would say.
Oh
What
yeah,
do you think?
absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm. So any it says so do you have any, what kind of actions do we want to give for the viewers about not perfection? What should we tell them to do? Anything that comes to mind?
Like, I think the first thing is that uh, you have to believe in yourself instead of believing that somebody else has to validate yours to you, to your whatever that you're doing. You need to be saying that I have to do this because this will make me better, not perfect but better. There
Mm-hmm.
is, like you're saying, micro habits. These are some visualization habits, manifestation habits that you have to internalize, that you'll have to keep on repeating them until it becomes your natural self. That you're not here to be validated by anyone. You are not here to you don't want to be perfect, you want to get better. And by the way, when I do the same thing, I want to be better person than what I was yesterday. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that I want to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just get better. I want to create things that matter. But it does not mean that it will come the very day when I'm thinking about it. It will come over time. It's just the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Committing to the practice, and like I said, going with a little bit of preparation to something should always be done, instead of just spontaneously randomly getting out to that. Because then oh, then you are just leaving everything to luck. It might work and it might not, you don't know. And you will not know what things that you need to prepare in order for the next one. So always go with something prepared in your hand, and go around it and see if it works. It doesn't, make a note of it so that you don't repeat it again, and just
Mm-hmm.
get better.
Exactly. Yeah. So take whatever action you want to take, and don't worry about being perfect. And just like that, just take it as, if they say no, ask a question so you can understand why they're saying no, so you can understand yourself what you need to change in you or your process,
Mm.
I would
Yeah,
say. So
absolutely.
guys, take action.
Yes. What else?
I think that would be, yeah, I think getting people just to take action, like that. It's, I mean, this is always what it is. What being an entrepreneur also is taking
Yeah, it's
action,
figuring
right?
out things. Like even right now, like if anyone who'll be watching this and listening to this, we are also just thinking right now what needs to be done. It's not like there is a rule book for anything. When you're an entrepreneur, you are just doing things as they come. And similarly, but just learning out of those things what needs to be done next is something that is always recommended. Anything that you're doing in your life, uh, focus on to giving value, then thinking that what is in it for me, instead think what is in it for, how can I help them, so
Hmm.
that you bring that value for someone.
Hmm.
And automatically the shift will happen. Because maybe you are going towards somebody asking that I want to buy that property because I want to make money. You're not going with the fact that I want to, the reason why I might want to buy that property because this might help him or her also in their problem, and I might be the solution for that. So let me phrase that way my my statement, my conversation, that how can I be of value to someone else, and start putting this into action into any conversation that you have. Again, not perfect, but one step at a time.
Yeah, agree. That's very true. I feel like that should probably be our next segment, talking about basically stop thinking about I and thinking about the actual person, because that's very true. Once you start realizing it's not about you. Sorry, my alarm's going off. I don't know if you heard that. But once you stop thinking about you and you start thinking about the people that you want to serve,
Yeah,
amazing things happen in many ways. Like you just realize you start learning about people, things about people that you didn't know, because when you're trying to solve someone's problem, you need to ask questions, you need to know about them to figure out what is the solution for them, and you get to know a lot about them, and they'll appreciate you because you're solving their problem.
absolutely. Yeah, this is a good
But
topic to talk about next time.
yeah, we should talk about that next time. Yeah, thanks so much, Sahas, for coming on.
No, thanks.
Guys, let us know if you want us to talk about this, like that last topic that we were saying, or if you guys have a specific topic that you guys would like us to talk about for mindset, and then we'll definitely talk about it.
And also give in your comments, like, what do you think about whatever we have spoken about today? Did it make any sense to you? Do you think that something needs to be talked about that we haven't? Like, this is how this is. We need feedback, and if there is no feedback, we will not know what exactly you're struggling with. And by the way, we are all struggling with something or the other in our life. So it's not like it's only you. We are as imperfect as you are. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So just put in your comments, what do you think we need to be working better at, and presenting it better to you guys.
100%. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Take
Bye,
care.
Sahas. Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye bye.